Okay. Well, let me just say a couple of words. I'm Jonathan Sok, professor in the study of Buddhism in Leiden University, and we're very happy to have this opportunity today to welcome a visitor who will be introduced in just a moment. And now I introduce Dr. Bert Janse, and there you go.
Okay. So my name is Bert Janse, and to me, the honor of introducing Campus Sodaji. So we are very honored here today to have the Tibetan Buddhist teacher and translator, interpreter, Khenpo Sodaji. And he is one of the main teachers and also administrators at Lodungar at Sepa, which is the largest and perhaps most influential contemporary center of Tibetan Buddhist learning on the Tibetan plateau. And he has been a pivotal figure in bringing Tibetan Buddhism to Han Chinese audiences in mainland China and also beyond. And this has been, he's been working tirelessly over the last 2 decades. He's also a prolific author, you could say, a bestseller of books on Tibetan Buddhism in Chinese, and he has an extensive network of Chinese students and devotees, and he is also very involved in philanthropical enterprises and spends a lot of energy on Buddhist outreach, especially among young people in Tibet and China. So that's sort of the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, the attraction of Tibetan Buddhism to young and urban educated people in China and beyond. Today is more of a question and answer session, things you always wanted to ask and never got the chance to, and I will try to interpret this and translate this as well as my possibilities. I'll try. Thank you. So who wants to open up with the first question?
I can do that if
Yes.
others don't want to. Well, I would like to ask a question about the context, which is that Khenpo is lecturing in, as we can see from your own website, for example, at a great many universities throughout the world. And I wonder if you would tell us why you think it's so important to present yourself in university settings.
Yes. Tanga the shitong parchir nitong go yarman tani tanga so janok tani lopchangare ninga tani chuchu zenar kacharewa chuchu mare tendan tani lopchangare ne tani te danshi zer kona raga tani koran so shogzegando tani nge sana kachir onson lochong de so ina pe kangayin na sano tani chi chanri chulure kain na pe yaboyo re tendi chi chise de la jikin kandre nanjuk sone na te nga lopcha kandre danji shinkeyo na ngan role yensi nge tani chuchu marashati de tani ngarang lapsong ta jima dari lopcha kasakane na shozenkeyo na nga kale tagme tani ngan rose tani jima te ta janok so yene na parchir nge te na ta janok na janchin parchir sumchi so so nre ta ngan rzma to zema nga changma lopcha chimbo chomala tani korong so shokze tani shokze dikang tariang chi chuchung oman rzda shakyo marda yena ya jikten kacha da ngarang samsarna ta tendan rzda de shakyo te ma to zema ya chi gemsen chi omir yo pa ta tenda cha mare korong so shokze di tani ro yo tani toron lopcha mayen ba tani omaram lopcha tanam jaram lopcha na ta te mayen ba ne chi zongkang dan lopcha chong timo so shokze na ya rogoyo yinayo 지금 토론 로자든 로시드 지금 망사선들 되요.
So I started doing this, coming to schools and universities in China, starting in 2009. And when I go to these places, universities and schools, it's not so much teaching the Dharma as such, but it's more, talks and discussion. And I was initially invited to Chinese universities and schools. And I found that especially in discussing issues with the youth, be it about science or about religion, I thought them to be very bright, and it seemed very interesting. And I basically, from then on, I started being invited more and more to places around China, and I just thought, well, if I'm invited, I will go there. And this sort of grew from, being mainly in China initially to also outside of China. So basically I go to places where I get invited. These are not necessarily universities. They can be universities or middle schools or primary schools. And I also go, if I'm invited, I even go to prisons to teach. And it's often not necessarily speaking about Buddhism, but more about my thoughts on certain subjects or discussions or ideas that I may have. So it's basically, it's not that I have a specific aim in coming to universities alone, but I will just go when I am invited to these places.
Question. Shall I ask in English or in English?
Whatever you like. Maybe in English, because then everyone can understand.
All right. How do people in China react to your teachings there, and also in relation to political issues?
nga ande nga chu ngama de kambon jigme phunso khongyen na tene zo chulug zo 막 또 되면은 공거 찹주다 된다 진짜가 요 말에. 근데 nga chu 라롱 gar그 tene 야나 걸로마 몸보즈 그 따따따이나 tene 다 추추샤사 몸보 요래다 이나요 때라 지 다양 지 찹주던 저랑 nga chu 양 로랑디 그 카쇼다는 로랑디 그 tene 오무ир 된다 차요 말에. 된디 베나가 있나 shirtung 그 산지 출루 다 산지 출루도 있나 다리 지금 때라 지금 머르다나 차트다나 되니 야급 지금 ram라세요 말에 슬라이나야 그런 송그 무조신이 반선 그 조랑시나야 된적 요래 대인디 되니 지 땅아랑 주 추추시안에 있나 자가 대마임바가 tene lopcha jamba chondrone inna the chapchutan jira kurang chungone inna chapchutan jira yosani na ngate yang tari ge chapchu zeki da ta yang shograna soso ge yang muir mombozo onre tendi ya jig stab de momendo tendi tso de chustyangwa ge gogone ne tene the jolang shege da ne chuchu shaje da te muir ge yen tene 지금 가사강나 손에 있나요? 지금 다음 무일 된다 요사이나 요 지금 쇼강도 냈다데 보면 맹거 된디 야나가 추추샤지나 대담 저런 조금에.
So just like Khenpo Jigme Phunso, when he was teaching, he taught Buddhism and steered away from issues of politics. And we do now find that at Larunggar, there's many Chinese who are receiving teachings, who are interested in Buddhism, and I happily teach them, but I don't have any aim of influencing them in any political way. And that's also generally the message of Buddhism, that when you teach Buddhism, it's not about ethnicity or nationalism or political issues. It's more having a discussion about religious topics, things that are interesting for us. So also when I'm invited to universities, whether I teach Dharma or when I go to universities or schools to teach, then I try to stay away from the political discussion, just because it is not fitting. It's something that is not my aim. Yes.
Often people hear people talking about influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism. Even certain God and goddesses have been incorporated in Tibetan Buddhism. How do you explain influence of Hinduism in Tibetan Buddhism?
Tandi yagarna ngama ga khanda chulu yore. Shana khanda chulu ga lorjin gare latte yone na ngachu sanje chulu da nika na tani da khanda chulu ga yin rao tani parchir lo samtung yarmar ga lorji o sa mambo yore. Shana yagar ga chulu de la chulu mambo se yak de la ya tramze chulu da na tani da khanda chulu nankar ga yang tela na ngochu yang chire ba ga chulu na na tani chulu mambo se yore. Ta tinone perna ngachu sang nang na yoni tani ta jurwa tang jurwa devjin da hadang hamu rangjin jikten ba ga ji nang chir dan thamba na ra tinrang gare yo re tani gare zena tangsang ta ngachu yanak ko chune ne nang gare ga tse yo re tani boygin nang tun de parchir ta khanda chulu ka sara shan ji yongsa yana tiga jiga nangdun rabo tin razu shi dana cha yosare ze dana tani ngare da yanak tani jimjig batso inang gare tinra seg yore inayang tate jagar ga chulig dana te koronso namba yang jamare tejen dati nangdun yang tari mandrawa mambo zi yore nge kale shayo.
So, if you look at the history of Hinduism compared to Buddhism, you could say that it has a longer history, perhaps at least 3,000 years. But of course, within what we call Indian religions or Hinduism, then there's also different, different sections. Usually, you have Brahmanism. You have then in Indian religion, you have Jainism, and so on. So it's difficult to point to one thing, but it is indeed true that if you, especially when you look at tantras, Buddhist tantras, you see, and then in the ritual or in the description of the appeasement and liberation rituals, then there's lots of descriptions of gods and goddesses who have the appearance of Indian or Hindu deities. And there's been some scholarship, the scholarship I know of Chinese scholars who say that there is, at least the outer appearance of these deities have been basically imported, adopted from Indian religions. But it is one thing to talk about the appearances of these deities, and another to talk about what they actually represent, the actual meaning of these.
Tate mandra sad kare yor zena jagar ge chulung ro inna tene ta prena wanshik ba chulu inna tene koron goti ndochak te inna ndochak te thakar ko ta wanshik ba yor wanshik ba yor ta wanshik ba chulung ro inna tene parchewa tare ta ndochak inna ndochak thakar ko ramchan ba telang ngon jang ge yosare tene ngachu tene khwerna ta sangha kono go ladang lamo go to go yavim zonjur ta timo yono de na shir tar de na to go ta phomo gor na ba yore tene ta te nang tar de na tene ta ndochak je gore tene khsangwa tar de na ta te ndochak de ta melong ta be yishi melong ta bo yishi je ta de yore tene yangsang tar de na semgi ngo jiwa me ba 다 땜송 거요래. 다 샘궁고 시험에 봐 샘궁고 곡사라 댄송고요 동화다 나더니 곡사라니까 종던직 봐 댄송고요래 다때인데 대지 다낭철 거wan도 셴이나 다래 거나 지금 야연 종절을 하는 티모요 나라는 동음악가 다 샘궁고 시험에 봐 동화다 나더니 gabame pa goxarwa tenika zongdenjik sonu tim chondon zamakto zema teni perna nyomo warang ramchon ba ta nyomo rangawa tendaga ngon zeng yo mare teni chironde ngasu te ta sanin ger jek no ger jong te yawaz de jimjik shene na teni ta jagar ke chulig da nak pe teni sa chesane mandasa hajan chimbo zo yogo yore.
Now, for example, where you see the differences is when you see, for example, something that you have in Shaivism is the sexual union, and you have that similar imagery in Tibetan Buddhism as well. In Tantric Buddhism, you have the imagery of a couple or deity in sexual union. And then there are different levels of explaining this. So on the external level, it would seem like it is an expression of desire. But then when you look at it from a Tantric Buddhist perspective, then it is, it's not necessarily desire. So there's different levels again. On the first tantric level, then you say, well, this is a representation of wisdom that is like a mirror. When you go on an even more subtle tantric level, you say that it is a representation of the nature of the mind, which is unborn, and also the union of the nature of the mind and emptiness. So we talk about different levels here. It looks the same, but then when you go to the deepest meaning, when you say the actual meaning, then what it represents is the union of unborn nature, true nature of the mind, and wisdom and emptiness in unison.
We're here at the university, and he's also teaching at a university, and to follow classes here we need to have certain prerequisites. So I was wondering if you could say what the prerequisites there are to enter, for example, Meditation 100. At the University of Tekalaringar, if they teach how they go about that, how they prepare the students for meditating, or if they directly learn that as like the first thing. And then the other follow-up would be to ask him to tell us what he would tell his Meditation 101 class on the first day.
Got it. 좀 롭자 첨부나 있나더니 오늘 양 다 찾긴 몸보스 거와 대 샤르쇼고 저거 있는다 납초고 저거 있는다 파르치 직바치냐 레근도 되니 맞출 라롱 간네요 다 신나 곰자 데라 곰데라 름바 몸보스 요래 이나야 저 곰기 레 당보와 제고난라고 곰거 다 망지 되니 다 대초인네 나지 찾긴 첨부도 매잖아요 저그래 되니 맞출 라롱 거 그때니 다 조바 첨부고 곰 베나 다 착쳤다는 데니 토르그르스 이제 된다 곰이요래 다 된다 곰 고는 있나 오네 지 가서 베크노는 범가 속에 있다네 베나 처음 테르다는 데니 잠조 샘킷 만들 데니 이기야 다 된다 또 오네 범테르 갑치 탐방 오네 인조고래 데니 다 te mayen ba ke yang na chi pe na nga chu la rong gar ne ni na rang khar ke chu ge nin ge dom ba ri ge de za ju chang nga den ra ta nyong shi zi ma to mo bo yo ma re de ne te ma to chang ma de ne de ne rap de chong wa de ne ane da na cha ba ge ser ge long yan chu ke ne de ne te dom ba ge won de shi ne na dom ba ge cha thom bon re go re tene chi chu nyamling ge na lo mombon re cha te zo tene zo ching ge tene ta chi gom thoram ge te gom te la tare zo tare ch che re tene rang khar ge ta chi chuba ze ge tene gom zo ching ge ta go obser da chak chu ta tene gom thombo ina tene ta tema tha de gom chi shor yo mare.
So to enter university, there's a lot of things that you need to have, and there are lots of conditions that need to be present, and this is probably the same in the East as it is in the West. But then again, in the same way, in university you have many levels. In Lalungar you also have different types of levels of meditation, and perhaps as a beginner, beginning meditation and without high objectives, then you probably don't need so much of things. But it really depends on what you want to do. So if you aim to do certain meditation sort of practice in Dzogchen, serious practice, then you need to do the preliminary practices of 5 times 100,000 of taking refuge, bodhicitta, the 100 syllable mantra, prostrations, and mandala offerings. So these then are requisites to do those type of practices, meditations. And then, of course, to stay in Lalungar as a layperson, it is helpful to take the upasaka vows, so the lay people vows, and then you have different levels. You become ordained, become a nun or a monk, and then you have vows that you keep to as well. And then, so people practice in that way. And of course, if you want to do higher types of meditations or more advanced meditations, then you need certain instructions. And as said, these preparational practices. And then that sort of prepares you for meditation.
Penanga ngama de larung garna thonde tene thang tambo tene ta khambo jingme pansok ko tene jokcheng go chut de gom de songre de gom de song de thang tang nga bonga tari bonga ya su so me de tene ti trawa thon ma song tene pe ro sam da ina yang tari thon ma song tene yang thang ni ba de kare zena tene khol go checheng go wang yo re de wang de thon ma song tene wang de nga yar kha tene yar ne zi ki tene song tene yar thon de wang song char song yang wang thon ma song tene thang simba de zo de gomya de wang zer ko nan ra de chu de thop song re de ni na yang rang khar ko tene chi chan thom bo go de gom de thop la mo da le la bon zi yo ma re tang bom bom nga me ra ni ba de wang yo bo to ma so ra wang ma to de yang na ch ma so re tene thang samba na nge tar bom nga to tene tar wang choma yang top sa de tene thang samba de chip chen yang de tene de zog chen ge chi re ba de gom da de tene top so.
So for example, back in Lalungar, Jino Pinso Rinpoche used to teach Dzogchen to people. He used to give the instructions. But the first time he did this, I had not done the preliminary practices. So I had not done these 500,000, 5 times 100,000. So I didn't get them. Then the second time he gave them, the second round he gave them, I had not done the initiation. I had not gotten the initiation, so again I could not get it. Then the third time around, I was able to finally get these instructions and then practice on them. But that goes to show that it's not an easy process.
Tene tari chetrwa nipate le tangbowa go tene sangtungwa kanjeshina parcherda tene namna chudun namna zog chudun yora tene na tangbo tari kangwa tari jichong chaje kangwa tene shirnika myamjak zanje dana tene gatsgi yar dis changwo zoje tene tari ke taranga tari jumba tari ndon shokse chong sarangu je tene natse la ta je tene chi tse kango la yara chi tse de kango la ta je tene chakba chung z mar loda je ta na tene ta shira gyap chola dis korean da tenja zoni na tene tanga su kasan terang go tene swangtun sama go gontan de yenge yonre pena lutra chembo mambo zikene no zo tari lim nyamjari dan drab gom go re ta tenja ini na daga li chang na za chang na sem chang daga sem chang na tene ta narwap ta na tene dewa mo zum jong yong ze tok song go te ini na tene tomar daga sangtung gom ba sedang sein na ya ta parchir tari namna chudeng go daga gom go je da na daga sem tsechig da daga nyamran jogyo ta te zo lo tu shek yore.
But then for the second part of your question, your second question is, as a beginner in meditation, then perhaps you begin with sitting the right way. And the way of sitting is the 7-point meditation posture of Vairocana. And that is basically sitting in the lotus posture, or sitting cross-legged with your right over your left hand, that you have your arms or your shoulders straight and a little bit apart, that you have your head a little bit bent forward, that you rest your eyes towards the tip of your nose or slightly beyond, that you have your tongue on the top of your palate, curled on the top of your palate, and as last that you are not leaning against something, but you're slightly forward bending. And the idea of, so this is the type of posture that we teach to everyone who is learning how to meditate, concentration meditation. And the idea is that if your body is straight, then the wind energies are also straight. And if they are straight, then your mind it's easier for your mind to focus. And the initial idea of this type of meditation is that you are able to focus your mind on something one pointedly. So this is the meditation starts with this posture. So we teach this to people who begin.
The question to you is, we have many different socio-economic systems in the world. The question I have is very short. Do you think a socio-economic system can make you sick, or can you only make yourself sick?
Socio-economic systems.
Tate niga yoresan. Matena chikto ngatso masoso go rarang ga lipo go na tene nan raman rata na dungun raman ra yong ji to so de da ngatso nawa chulu bai na sanji ba ga zene na so ji ngama ga yang tene jikin mambos dam jer yore tene tsendi korig da na shutsu tene charken ngbo barjur de zo yang jera mambos cha yore tene ta chikdo 다 환주기 가서 그 대탕에 있는 자가 되니 나차 있는 자가 근데 저 참마때 되니 조용레제나 저 파치 연사 말에 옛나양 가선대랑 잠올는 거 되니 소도 다 폐기인데 여러 자친 조용디 되니 지 랑숑 감고 다 코리 돌로 라만자조 되니 톤제 저 참마도 서로 공동시이다나 되니 참마든자제 되니 던자치 지론디 되니 처치하다는 대준도는 다 잠만자가 되니 당선 랑숑 감고 되니 추니다 멈텀바가 내일 몸보즈 제거요래 대인데 오늘 다 발치를 주 흔한데 사천도 소이나 나 단어에나 배 10분 정도 가르잖아 단직준 몸보 요금도 와 네 종질 몸보 때는데 얘나야 강화 몸보 서클 레지다는 텐다 좁에 뇽뇽을 렌도 내가 가수 영때 다하라 여러 야랑 쇼권에는 되니 사차 저크 몸보지 내나다 니마 지드는 강화 몸보 레지다는 되니 남카요 나다리 쪽으로 체험 쪽으로 되니 지 사만데 소용나 맨 몸보지 내고요라 다 텐데 지론데 오늘 가송라 그거 등을 따는 남 망보스 쉐게 요요레다 이나야 다 지금 잠올는 거 지금 롤링으로 된다 쳐요데 배 갈려사래 치레제나 단 잠올는도 가선대랑 있나 배 반선 로종 취다는 된다 요래 되네 로종 취 된다 요데 다 그런서 또 총몽보스 언저리요라 다 총몽보스 언저리요데 되네 다 발치를 유럽 다는데네 아메리칸도 소인이나 다 사마다는데 소지 역시 인사래 맞수 야노클로만 몸보승다네 용디더니 다 그런서 인치민진더니 레가 전인 등내 인더니 파란 로모포더니 지 다치도 카우기 땅만 만들더니 자마 지 어디탕 용식 자마 만들게 몸보승 같은 랍건도 강타리안 맞수 자물은 거 맞상마가 런건 코리가 런거도 시시에 런거 대탕라 런거 뉴트라조고 견도 배 고고나 배 칼렌도 내나요 때 지금 정마도 때라제세 고나데 인사마레 야코 배나 오스트레일리안 데지나 다 된다 네처다리 뇽뇽 인사레 유럽네 얘나야 된다 네처 뇽뇽시 인사레 예 다이나야 지 나초 정마가 so roami detanga tatala ji masun shi jindong tena pe karchen bonendo.
So you could say it's a little bit of both. As from a Buddhist perspective, of course, you would say that the notion of karma, that mainly what you experience is the result of something you've done previously in a previous life, for example. But then, of course, you can look at the current environment and you can see how the environment definitely contributes to your general well-being, but still as a result of karma. So you could say, well, is a socio-economic situation mainly making us ill or making us, causing us suffering? That's maybe not the main reason, but still, it is something that we need to take into account. So, of course, we see the progress, economic, socio-economic progress, but that also comes with a lot of factories and machinery, and that comes with exhaust, and that is something that is not generally not good for the environment, not good for people. So far in the Netherlands, it's been very nice. I found that the air quite clean and not so much exhaust, not as in certain places in China, where it is really the sky is often you can't see the sky due to the pollution, and it's also something that the sort of the pesticides and the pollution in the food is also something that's a big worry for a lot of people. But this is, of course, so then the environment becomes from sort of the more worldly perspective, it becomes a concern for us all. It's something that people need to study, and we need to realize the effects that are concern for business and progress, what they have, what kind of effect they have. And we see that, for example, regulations with regards to that in Europe and in America, they are a lot better than in other places. And we have less concerns about the food we eat and the air we breathe. But we see that these type of effects is becoming a problem of the world. But it's not everywhere as bad. So Europe, America, Australia, we don't see big problems, and elsewhere we see the results of pollution, and it's something that we need to take into account and we need to take care of. But I wouldn't say it's the main problem of our suffering or our illnesses. Because it becomes an obstacle. Or does it? Or yeah.
다 shirtung nga tsu ma sidang se na teni jikten kamsa jikten kam dana teni chowa shirgu di teni daga ta sharlo nursing ga ma se na di nga tsu rolik chowa shirtang zi yora tan shirtang zi yojin de teni ju tanga yobos ko ma song da yene chuba sir kande sir chu jung he na.
So you're talking about from like a Buddhist practitioner's point of view, or just more general point of view? The page English.
chubaga zo parchi zojido nachi cheba de karizena ta zo chula lokta chirwa. Lokta chine tane tariga ta jing sam samlan de ji tari drumna tondong mai ka sam ji tane mojub ji da te parchin na chi chishu re sam gare sena tane oma ji gya no na son yo re chire zene na ta chacham char son na la ga re ta na ta lokta shine na tane ta chu de yang ta pa zu ji yo ma re se ta ten son yo re ta ten de indi nga tsu chu she no go tene ji shirtung ge na pe na tari ge ta ji pe na ta ge ning ge domba na ja ge tene ta mongbo yo ra lapcha mongbo yo ra de zo changma tari drum na na charkin chu charkin yo bo re sem ga re na sem de sra chung thya la pe don dok chen bo yo ra ba re ta yin yang ti zawang ma de ga re thga re na zo de tene chude modre mara yigin jo te pe za chimbor에 가때 때 마임 바거든요. 배낭아 수 지금 진등 그 쇼바데 소이나 다지 첨탄다는 첨단 담바된다 최톤나 빼망게 여보래다 예나양 된다 같이 마텀나 따때나 지 배나 쇼하시야다는 된다 여러 저 되는 저 배나 사도도야다는 된다 말아 쇼바시 된다 치여라 되는 교식을 줘라 되는 득방가리 있나 되는 단다 치나 쳐레스 그때 인디 소도 다 샘거 말 만도른 게다는 되는 긴 조진 같이 보여고 만도삼 다 추바 있나 되는 지금 잠바소 있나 양 잠바군 롤 카가 뭐 보여라 되는 서로 고만도.
So I think generally speaking the biggest obstacle to
practicing the Dharma is wrong views. Because what wrong views do is they cause you not to practice, to leave things aside, neglect things. And this is also something that is said in Ayadeva's 400 verses. It says something like, it is very good to practice self-discipline or ethical discipline, but it is worse to, it's better to not have wrong views. Generally speaking, there's different levels of like vows you can take. You can take the upasaka vows, or lay people's vows, or monk vows, nun vows, whatever. And these, with that, you create contributing factors. They basically help you to protect yourself from doing the wrong things. But the most important thing here, the basis of one's practice should be not having the wrong views, because they cause you to do the wrong things and not do the right things. So you find, you hear of monks, ordained people who are very concerned with keeping their vows and self-discipline, moral discipline, but maybe are less concerned with maintaining the right type of views. So, in my view, then wrong views is the thing that we should be most concerned about, because this makes us do negative things. So this is from a Buddhist perspective. How this would translate into sort of worldly business, I'm not sure.
What is the Buddhist perspective on people who kill in war to protect themselves? For example, in the Second World War, people soldiers who were on the front, which is usually as close to the enemy that you can see the white in the eye of the enemy. And there's only one rule, it is you are killed or the other. So is there a kind of karmic mercy for all those soldiers who had to kill to survive?
You mean, as in, is it still killing or not, or is it still negative or not?
All the wars.
Basically, the soldiers who are made to kill, who are forced to kill.
Yeah. If you stand in front of the enemy, you are dead or you are dead.
Te kanreina de perna sochopa de niba chembo yenre. Then the tela jimsun jamba zerguna yang sun jikten bagwan de sheni na yang te shatur mambozu yona chokoyo re. Re tayang chuluk wanda sheni na tene paru da sat samyaga sambatena tene jorwa dona tene tatuk soki wambo de gak gyoji dana te jindana daga da sosim dana tene jorwa dona tatuk dana tene shoko gongbo gangyo josum joram tatuk se tenja zo changsong zong te gang tariyang no te la da de narman tene mambosu de chocho pi niba narman de ngone yoke re tene de dugba de yore ten de shirtong da rang zhong che te tene parolo la ji gorwa tang kangok den de na shi chore re da yin yang da rang zhong che de parolo sa dong gu bing ba yo ma re sang nge de na tena zanglang chichin nibi kabi na yang jamba po chola tene ju ramen ra ta tene saze zo ra te zo yong na yin na yang kurang te la chongkyu she ta ta mongbo yo re de sat 타치도 썼던 거 빙이바 만들고 삼 사고잉이 바만도 소고잉이 바만도 선래 된디 깡따리야노 때니 때니바데 쳐요레스데 니라서까다 약고 캄베르까 잡나 콩콩데 디스카 지금 차근차근 잡나 그지 거 알아 rất cứ ngồi trong nó có rồi, ta nói nghe rất cái giờ đâu.
So killing actually is always a very negative act, and whatever the reason for that, it's still negative. And we see that in the world, like from a worldly perspective, then certain type of taking life in some cases is not something illegal. So in wars, etc., then there's allowances that, you know, if it is to protect yourself or it's for a different purpose, then it's not something seen as you know, punishable or bad. But from a Buddhist perspective, if you have the motivation to kill, if you then actually do the action of killing, you know, you go about killing, and also the final act, the person actually dies, then that makes a complete sort of cycle of the action or the action of killing. So you can say, yeah, there are allowances when you say when it's out of self-defense. Then it's different. But when the motivation is there to kill another, and you actually complete it, then in any case it is a negative act.
Hi there, my name is Robbie, and I'm wondering if there is another way to cleanse your karma instead of suffering.
따때 네때나 파르nga chokat서들은 장는 거뭐 망보 지가 되니 레 게와 죄니나 되니 대와 종교도도 되니 레 마게와 죄니나 등은 종교도 파르치아서 근데 김선도 고야 말해 담 먹고째도 먹고제 소 땅아 소 락소 코리 되니 김선 뭐보자 특요라 되니 다 총총인디네 되니 센드실리 김제가도 락소 취야가 되니 그 지롭종 치사다 된다 요 말해 되니 아직 나총 코리 그 르네 대형 파르치아 대형 즉 센드실리 김제 요사가 되니 코리 메반르다 몸쳐 되니 나지 시르나 센드시고 되니 레 게트거 데 탈라 똑바요지도 다 파르치아 로총 망보즈 그 된다가 똑바 요거래 데 똑바 된다 요거래 가르즈나 나총 추샤네나 당보 똑바 요래 되네 똑바데 저하고 되네 랑게 로랑시 상로당 되네 쪼바조 되네 름지 다리 달레나 레트근 제버 먹게왔던 종 만나 먼종 데 강롱즈라 타초지가 되네 땅케르니 시어버지 용래 데 된다인데 땅 눈에 장네 회나 nga라 상로당나 되네 달레 짐진도 문이 요래 상거요 데 요지대양 랑커그 추라 답바 대바 잠스 많이 막아 땅 눈에 되네 이 롱다 르바 다 된로 되네 그런데 되네 단데 요사레 가르즈나 베나 나초 뭐멍보요나 파마 집바 있나 보니요라 데 보니가 그체 나마가 다리 레데 되네 오마 있나 다리 파마니까 그 지기 멍보서 자가 요래다 옛나야 보니까 그다 대화던 등을 얘는 자요 말에 데 먼저지기 짐슨데 그런 수 건식이 감나 레 요노 띠그래 막 도제면 때 마임바 다 되니 셰고니나 다 가스데랑 차륵 바가 있나 때 셰탑고요 말에 근데 가서 출륵 바가 있나 때 사로즈도 되니 셰탑고요래 때 샤노 때야 땅아 춘초와가 줬대 되니 냠뇽 질런시니나 자가 만에 상로 땅에 나페 라초 여보 용거요래 때나 nituna tari te goa lenjida na tela jimji shijida pe ka chimbore tani che trawa shistang de che yar jane trawa shijida te yaborendo.
So first of all, about karma, then generally speaking, I mean, there is this notion that good actions bring about happiness and bad actions bring about suffering. This is something that a lot of people already sort of have an understanding of. They find this a reasonable thing, and this is something that we see, also from you see that studying brings about something, or certain actions in the environment bring about certain results. So we see that how that sort of works. But then with the action, or sort of the working of cause and effect, it is actually very good to. We hear a lot about karma. We hear a lot of stories, but it's actually very good to start with this sort of doubt, thinking, how does this work exactly? Because doubt leads to questions, and questions leads to investigating and discussing and thinking and understanding. And then to a certain point, at a certain point, you come to some kind of understanding or conclusion. And Kenpo says, I personally, I really believe that the working of cause and effect, karma, exists. That it is really does work, and this is not out of faith. This is not for me not an assumption, because it is part of Buddhism, but it is on the basis of studying and making certain arguments, thinking about that. And you can see that the workings of karma also just more in the world. For example, if you have two children from the same parents, you see that their levels, and who basically have the same environmental conditions, they have very different experiences. In some might be one might be happier than the other might have more misfortune than the other. So it is if you look at how these things work, at one point you come to sort of an understanding that these things really function the way they are explained, and it becomes very clear for you. But this is something that is a process, and that is something that you sort of practice in doing, thinking about how karma, how the workings of law and effect, or the working of cause and effect, how it works exactly.
Tare shaka shikitela pena ta ngatsong Beijing nangtong go shaba shikito zo nimbo toje ta tene tenji tobze tene pena dorje sengan dengi nam kabgom니다 lamagum dong go shaka shikite tene tare ta sim 준비 또 아마 런 득바 치치치요나 데라페 조바 잡고지게 데레 tene sorchi pirto yana ta chinchong e tenri 득바즈 치 먹ong산네 tene 담자소죠 데레 tene nimbo 근도 쇼피스톱즈기도 다 간지선거나 tene 페나 dorji sen과 런거 tene ndonji namkala gomne tene ti shinlabla tene 런거 득접 박착 소마도 말 딱송산니 텐다 다 드스 베비종 드스 바비종 텐다 곰탕 요래 다 텐다 체네나야 시하이나 그 런기 뜻바티 손다 나고래 대 마연 바거더니 야르 양지 참 돈본을 쓰이나 니 런그 샘기 내일라 샘거 파르다니 니 동반이 징오라 더니 스체치도 냠버르장네 더니 런그 샘기 오 좀버시 ta te na yang tak ni la yang tak ta yang tak thong la number 2 je yang tak bi ngo la yang tak ber ta ni na yang tak ba dem thong di number 2 ju re zi ta te di si chi gum nyam ne yabo yo san zi na te ni shwa tin ra yong re kan de tin ra ma un na nyem bo to ji go ne shba she na pe yabo yo re.
But then it is this karma. It is also possible to purify this, and within our system in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a sort of a way of purifying karma on the basis of the 4 forces or the 4 powers, which then starts with doing something positive. So that's, you could say, well, this is meditating on Vajrasattva, or reciting the mantra of Vajrasattva, purifying mantra, or visualizing your teacher. The second then is the power of remorse, so feeling regretful about what you've done. And the third is the making the promise, basically saying, well, I've done something negative and I'm not going to do it again. And the last is the force of the antidote, which can be a number of things, but one would be to visualize Vajrasattva and then visualize the stream of nectar going down, being blessed by the stream of nectar, by which then you visualize that your negative karma is purified. So it's a way of practicing. So these are the 4 forces or 4 powers that you can employ to purify your karma. Alternatively, you can also focus in order to purify on the state of your mind, to meditate on the real nature of your mind, the true nature of your mind, by which you can become liberated, and by which this type of practice can you can also purify with. But again, then you also have the 4 powers. These are both ways to purify karma.
I have a question about mind dharma, or I think it's gongten. How does it work? Where is it stored, and how does it go from the past to the future?
Gongten de mamo music ko yo mene na nge tendra lantan tendra mar lamna yo te am music ko roji mare.
Maybe for the people who have not heard of mind dharma, then maybe if I say something, then maybe you still not understand about mind dharma treasures.
Ta ina yang gongter de 가르젠데 신나 nga chung khas 되는 건데 ngorun bo che ga ta terma pe mombo yora pe na renchen term so ta bo yo pe mombo yore tene pe yor no tene tertun yarsa tertun yada jet samz ko tene pe mombo yore tene koran so te terchu de 오늘 다 다nga ji 심직 심 용케 지 심직 시안을 지나더니 그런 고집에 요래 te maim baga ta termagal urjinde thakar dranganguni chi ko kabun yore yena zu gongter zide tene ta ngurun bo che gteni perna tari chukan roazida ta maon nerkamna tene mara ta titsud mo garson di mara nyamro ra ta te manim bi chetna to tene semgi sangwa tela tare ta mara je ta semgi sangwa tela ter de range o juzgon re perna ngachu kanezera perna ta te chu mombo ngare de tene namki khamna be nyuje yore ngare de tene chono la be range o je yore tene ngare de tar chagna 자꾸는 라다래 레요래 tani gongter zikita tani ta thigi sangwa imzot de la ka ningi ka gi sang imzot de la tani khanro densi chapa ge ta we nan tani tenda re para ba yo ra tani tenda re ba yo re tenda yendi tani ta ti tertun te ti cho ngichin za thondi tani kurang ta datab na raman ra tani tani 다 되게 섬존네 되네 엄마가 그러는 거 지금 몰름지 또네 저스타와 전도 리요 비 테스트에서 양 되는 칸로다 추경 때도 때라서빠가 되네 다 그러네 되네 다 된다 그러네 되네 럼지 다 되네 다 도리용 좀 뭐요래 아마 배나 띵건 캔서는 뭐 제너라에 나랑 한번 중매 편소에 나라 콩 넘버 소에나 되네 다 공터페 뭐 요래 tani pena ngurun bochiga ne chabrjan sachare thonzong di tani tate ngoni jiting gi tsartana chu tani techu de rang khar ka thonyong ji ran tani mombo yore pena ngaina kambo nimbang chawan rogon di tani thare samgone ne tani gongter pe mombo gi ge thopa yore.
So these treasures, these are generally speaking left by Padmasambhava, by Guru Rinpoche. So these are treasures left by him a long time ago. And then later on there are people who reveal these treasures. So these can be texts or other physical things, or of course meaning. And there have been at least 100 treasure revealers, people who reveal these treasures in the past. And this is a big topic of research. You can look at how this has happened in the past. Then you also have this mind treasure. So these treasures, you could say, stored on the continuum of a person by Padmasambhava. And in order for these particular teachings not to be lost, so the idea is that teachings, they degenerate and they go lost, and then when the time is right, they can be revealed by the right type of person. So you have these sort of physical treasures, and these are found by treasure revealers from the sky or from a lake or from a rock. But then you also have the mind treasures that are then stored on the mental continuum of a disciple of Padmasambhava. And then when the time is right, and the time is sort of announced by there being all kinds of signs, then this sort of becomes revealed. So when there's sort of this can be triggered by other people or dakinis and other things that happen, or being at a specific holy place or like a pilgrimage place that is associated with Padmasambhava. And then these type of treasures can be revealed. So there's some, in modern times, also famous treasure revealers such as Dilbu Khyentse Rinpoche and of course Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, who have then, traveling to specific places, started to, say, remember things or come up with things that have been, or you could say, stored in the past, and that's sort of how a lot of these cycles of treasure cycles have come about.
This is a question that I was got two of us. If karma works, can we get what we want by planting the seed of karma? such as if you want to get rich, then you make people rich first, such as if you want to have a company, then you provide a company to lonely people. And also we heard that if you do good things, specific good things, in accordance with what you want, and you think about the good deeds, instead of forgetting about it, thinking about it, emphasize this, and then the seed of karma will grow crazily, and then you will get what you want this life, but not next life. We just don't know if this is true. We will look a little bit into the tradition of the academy, because they are very young, but this must be a concern of many worldly people here, which is that task. Thank you.
다 나성 신나 레즈기데네 드니 넘버 몽보즈요레 드니 주 테페 가르즌 테 나카 몽보즈요레 레 랭가레드 드니 첸데르 통춤 용저스 첸달라 드르네 드니 첸디 동아더니 다 랑거 좀바준나 조파 곰나더니 샤와칸 좀나요 목sur그 니바침보즈 첸디 동아 메요게 된라요레 드네요 랭가레도 드니 첸데 좀네는 쳄시마야 드니 기님 용저 드니 기니 드니 지마다리 뇽뇽뇽 기와 추마페나 참메피레 파사 파마사 팔라 소바시는 된라요레 드네요 랭가직 때네 tar jima tari tserp mambo jine myong ta tenje yang tari lengare yore na ta tisol lo yatra mambo sone tani le te number myong je tenja yang yore tene yang lengajik te ta nyembo ramandra to cha song de tani ngama nyong iba yin na jima tari nyong mangi ba ta nyong iba me ba tenje yang lengare yore tete indi ngasu 가서 되는 건 뭐만 보지 그 달레 김지스 기도 연치민치미 그 체인들라 되네 뭐바 뭐보요래 배나 가리가 좀바 동야도는 따페 체인들라 여러 식보조야던 되네 조파 곰나야는 체인들라 지금 랑 지야 보용아 되네 된자다는 대신도는 지 잔라 로바시네 나지 랑가 참탑 대 조지 토모용아 된자 산산레다 이나요 다 레지기도 페나 샹바가 때문에 사원 식카 사원 살았다니나데 동카마 도제면 디주 동동즈 그런 만도요 말에 되네 되네 땅아 수추그나나 제니나 가마카르키 타티 릴라토 시마카르키 타티 릴라토제 가마칸자인 타타가 다리 리텔라테나 코레 되네 시마칸자인 타가 타타가 정거 레소코 kindel라테나 코레 소요레 되네 인디 저 좀 멍멍치가 배나 사식수소네나 소마가 지금 레짐지기도 지금 테마터데 하면 영원 저차요래 삼거요래다 따때 지금 직된 거 좀 저직단 리모 사원 말한데나한테 레라보 차요 말아 되네다 할란사찬에 때 장바 요 말에서 오늘 장바 요래서 오늘 간래야 고만도 가슴 가리지는데 배 장바 뭐보요래데 가리든 지는 나나 장바 요 말에서 정말 타래데 간래 고만도 다 가서 장바 같으니 사온 거 배전에나 레텔라 배 고지요래.
So we talk about karma here, and then it's important to know that there's different types of karma, also in the way they ripen. So you have karma that you do in this life, and that it actually comes to fruition in this life, but you also have karma, the second type of karma, that only comes to fruition in the life after this life. And then the third type of karma is basically the karma that ripens in the life after the next life, or the lives after the next life, and you don't know when this is. It may be hundreds of years or hundreds of lifespans. And then it is also not necessarily that you will be able to actually experience the result of the karma you do. There you might do something in the meantime that destroys that. when you speak of karma that you experience in this life, then we often, that you can experience in this life, and we often think of generosity, and that is something that you will get back, or being patient. That that's an attractive quality. So this is something that you can experience in this life. But it is something that, and also like when we help other people, that we get good company and help back. But it is something that generally is not experienced straight away. When you think of it in terms of, planting a seed, then when you plant a seed, still you have to wait for harvest time. And from a Dharma perspective, what we say is, if you want to know what kind of karma you've done in the past, look at your present circumstances. If you want to know what you will become in the future, look at what you do now, your current actions. So this is something, and it's you see a lot of people in the East have this idea of karma, that actually they want the direct experience, the results of karma, that you do something and you want to see the results of it. But it doesn't work like this. So you plant something as a farmer, and you then have to wait for it to grow, and only then you can harvest it. And actually, I don't know whether you get this sort of simile, because in the Netherlands I've seen a lot of meadows and plains, but actually no farms so far. So I wonder whether there are farmers at all. But it is, you can think of it as planting a seed.
Can you repeat the last sentence? Planting the seed.
You can think of it as planting a seed. Planting a seed. Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
Doing an
yes,
action.
yes.
Okay.
Doing an action is planting.
The last question?
Yes, please. There's the book Always Present by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, the founder of Lalong. And in that book, there's a motto. Khenpo Sodaji has translated that book. He has written it and made it available in English. And there's a motto, and it says the following, I have it here. Do not lose your own path. Do not disturb others' minds. So this motto, I know it's from Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, and I'm interested to know how this came about, why this is a motto, what is its meaning, and why is it important?
땅아초 근데 가모지면 부족고 로마 참마가 때페 가르침보자 저거요래 가르지나 공그 다 로마용로 송시 참마거더니 다 치타마 친직마가 다리가 측대 차요래 가르스는 공르 다 근데 공바 마존에 파치르니마 얼가지 열면서 그 혼도 근데 이 공바 조디 된데나 야낙 천도가 만강나는 공바 조래 옛날에 때니야를 가르로 때니 카버 틀리파 티노나 때니 로마초라 때니 송시 타마즈 조요래 때니 송시 타마는 주르돔데라 공그 다 장츠 마셔 랑그 측대 셔만조 때니 장그 셈데 마측 때 송요래 that rangi rang pena rang chupa jin chupa tsig yore chupa tsig da ma shor tene rang pena tani shawa kang jam ke zi na rang de la rang lam lik zi yo ra rang gi lam pe na nga popa zi na popa ga rang chuk da ma shur tani nga gergin zi na gergin de la yang rang chuk zi yo de rang chuk de ma shur pe na nga su sang lo ta na te pe to mong bo zi la re chok yo re sang do tani ma kang shawa kang da kang na rang ga chuk me chur ki de pe kar chen bo re sang ga to chi re tani chuk ni ba de tani 다 장기 셈마트 가수 샤와 카운드럼네 나더니 여러 공마라 여러 깊거리 조시와도 나더니 람님 솔라야나 파라튼 시와도 더니 공마 솔라야나야 지 샹경 시와 덴라이 소니 나더니 잠바스야나 셈트고 요마라 당가송 가서데런 잠볼은 것더니 다 멘트 조야다 나더니 치산이들이 자르컵다 파르네야나 다 뉴트라 몽보조이다 단트고 조거래 더니 총산이 다리가 zama pansa pardana tani tari omenchuk mambozo yore tani zame zoni nate omenchuk mambozo yora ta te yana janga semchuk re tani nga tsu te jansi machik ziki te chongsane ringi kyam tsangdana girgim pardana tani chesane zamo langa masiyo warna yang tarong yara chene na jan pena tundru ga riginde tsuyo na ya shamkyong she gungduwa ta tenja indi ta kongga songshit tsoma ga tama tere tani nga tsu yana teni penang larong garne ne na zo kongge chu song jo te rang chuk ma sho jansen ma chuk ji de te ngarong chu pena chesan de ladin hlo ching na ne na te ke yang wo de par chi hlo tra ga te flasha zu wen zhen jo sera ke yang ge zong ze ba ke yang chi jo de hlo tra ga na ji zu wen jo ge te ngarong chu pena garne na de kamo ji me ba zo gong ba zo song de teni dang nga chu 보바즈 인제다 추바즈 인제가 랑스기 쇼르문이스 되니 나라초야 지 잠바 촐라다리 셈마치고이나 판바 줄게인데 예제이다 니수지 지산전 산들다는 되니 수 뜻뜻죄게요래 근데 다 공교대 손시 총마가 타마데레 된디 지 가르침본도 때라요 고지용 몽보즈 되니 추쇼고용 고지 몽보즈 요래 되니 직된 쇼고는 랑커 gegen na da loma na da sen na ra la mi chig da ma shure jamba la yan bo tun shi ni na me ya bo zin yong de gere sam jo de sam chre yo.
So this phrase or this motto is very important for us as followers, as students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche. And it's for us all important. The reason why it is so significant is that this basically came out of the last thing that Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho communicated with his disciples, his followers, before he passed away. He passed away in a military hospital in Chengdu in China, but 5-6 days before his passing, he had a telephone call with people at Lorungar, and this is basically the summary of what he said. This is one of the last things that he said. Don't lose your, well, it's translated as lose your own path. It can mean actually many different things, and don't disturb the minds of others. So your own path, it could mean your practice, your Dharma practice, but it can also mean, like, if you are Tibetan, then don't lose your Tibetanness. So, and you could even take that as, if you are a teacher, don't lose your identity as a teacher, be a teacher, basically. So it has some reflection on the sort of notions of identity. And then for, don't disturb the minds of others, then you can take this again on many different levels. Most basically that you don't disturb others, but also knowing that that the way, thinking about the way you treat other people, that you treat other people above you with respect, that you treat people on the same level with kindness, and people who are in a less profitable situation than you, with compassion, and then again levels. You can think of nation states. I mean, the wars are because other people's mind. People are disturbed. Are caused by all these disturbances on smaller levels, family level. Then one is not to disturb the minds of others that come between couples and so on. And then even you can think about it for yourself in your direct relationships, but also how people in the world should behave, but even the way we treat animals, for example, that we treat them right, that we don't disturb them. So the significance of this thing is that it's the last thing that Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche said, and that is why it has become so important in Ladungar itself. And just as a lot of institutions and schools, universities, they have a university motto or school motto, something that students there can take and think about, and something that is significant. So this has become do not lose your own path and do not disturb other people's minds. This has become our motto, the motto of Ladungar, basically keeping one's own identity as whatever you are, and trying, so not harming others, trying to help others where you can. And the nice thing about this sort of last speech by Khenpo Jigme Phuntsho is that you can take it in a sort of from a religious point of view, from a worldly point of view, and just in any type of way.
I was wondering, because you mentioned in the foreword that there was only a few teachings remained, and that it's a collection of teaching. I was just wondering how you went about it and how you collected these things and how you made the choices for the chapters that eventually became this book.
근데 shirtang kong 근데 송추도 mambo 요래 다 있는 아마 근데 뭐는 뭐지 그 샤rdam 때 송디데 되니 공그 되니 송쉿 되니 다 우응kur 제들 mambo 요래 때 세드는 게 당연히 용시즈 되니 공그 로마초라 다 다걸 그 되니 과교인나 자가 샤rdam이나 자가 대진도 랍샤이나 자 된다서 요래 shirtang kong 송쉿도 mambo 요래다 있는 띠나네 다 용시즈 되니 parchir chikloma sogyana thakar ke jilla phamba yoba ganente ngare yore ni tarong mombo yore da ina yang ta tinana khon ge chi gajun sheya te mombo yore lawsha te mombo yore ni ta nge na chi parchir gajun shesan gare yone na te ploma so phamba yojire samgo tangsa maran sum mse na rang chon de ngoi ho zang yo mare ni khon kambo chang hama 되는 로마가 탁걸 거는 지금 다 문적 사다는 되는 야보 마인 봐 된다 소인 나더니 배나 가서 보여놨더니 다 아티샤 되니 다 공기에 나 로마촌 배 잘담이나 탁걸 거 손지 소리요래 되니 가르세니 나도 갑견시 노도 라마건 초인세 기담 상토가 그렇게도 담가건 초인세 기요래 다 된다서 따와는 지금 송가리도 된다요나 여보라고 삼는데는 이 뎁당어도 된다 쇼주신을 때는 뎁 자만가리 요래단다 다로야 디소크도 그 코마소.
So these maybe shall I hold up the book? We know what we're talking about. So what is in this book? They're basically short. The idea is that these are all sort of short instructions, advice, things like that, and also criticism. And the idea is for the disciples, the students of Jigme Phuntsho Rinpoche, that it is something that you can sort of directly hits home, and I call it their criticisms, and he was actually always keen to point out the things that were not being done all right, things that were going wrong. He was keen to point out, criticize others, and as we say, and this is something that we, for example, see with other masters, Buddhist masters coming to Tibet. For example, Atisha, when he, what we have from his teachings is that he was actually, the way he taught, he was directly addressed the disciples, his followers, and also interacted with what they were not doing right. So basically these are short, I selected, of course there's many more of these short instructions, criticisms, because we say the criticisms is the best teacher. Sometimes you can, especially when it comes from your own master or your own lama, then it's something that you will immediately take to heart. So this is the reason why, and also these are short. It's something we can all easily sort of digest. But there's many more, and I've just chosen. Still, I had to make a choice, a selection of this.
Maybe it's time to.
So yes, you can.
So, first of all, I'd like to, on behalf of us all, thank Khenpo for his willingness to meet with us. So thank you very, very much. I would like to express once again all of our thanks, and we should express our thanks to Dr. Janse for her willingness to jump in and translate. Thank you.